In this video, I'm going to explain exactly how to start a successful YouTube art channel. I've tried to compress a ton of information into 10 important points. During this video, I'm going to be drawing this pencil portrait in the background. If you're interested in watching a full-length narrated tutorial, there's a link in the description below. There is a huge global demand for art videos of all types, and plenty of people build full-time incomes doing it. YouTube provides an amazing platform to do this, allowing you to connect with a potential audience of millions all over the world. I know that starting out can seem like an almost impossible challenge sometimes, but I want to assure you that it is possible. You can do it. I know that starting a channel and online art business is something a lot of artists think about. So, if this is something you've considered, but you're not sure where to start, or perhaps you've started but still feel there are aspects that are hard to get your head around, then stick around, as I'm going to cram in all the things I've learned in my first 8 months, including the stuff I wish I'd known when I started. I've summarized it into 10 top tips, and I guarantee that these points will save you hours of time. This video is not sponsored by any of the brands or websites mentioned in this video. All opinions are my own. Some of the links provided below in the description are affiliate links. These don't cost you anything, but I make a small commission on the sale if you make a purchase. This helps support the channel. So, without further ado, here are my 10 top tips for starting a successful YouTube art channel. First up, decide on your niche and learn about the different art niches out there. Art is great because there are so many ready-made niches and they're generally pretty well defined. There are lots of different genres: time-lapse speed drawing, speed painting, art vlogging, education, tutorials, art entertainment, portraiture, realism, illustration, animation, oil painting, etc. The list goes on. I also recommend checking out some of the big YouTube art accounts. People like Kirsty Partridge, Sylvie Madal, Proco. Then work out how you can bring something unique to your audience. Don't copy other people's work, but be inspired by others. People don't want to see exactly the same art as other people. They probably want to see the original version, not the copy. There's so much out there, so it's good to bring your own unique angle to your new channel. And niches are somewhat fluid. They aren't fixed. There's always room for growth and development. And you should bring something new, even if it's in an established niche. As you probably know from my channel, I focus on pencil portrait drawing tutorials in a realistic, sketchy style. And I try to present it in an accessible way that can be followed easily. Lots of other people do portrait style drawing, but everyone tends to have a very slightly different style. So work out your own passion, whether that's portraiture, watercolor painting, colored pencils, oil painting, whatever. Then find a way to tie that in with what people are looking for on YouTube. Work out a way of presenting it in a clear, engaging way. Once you're clear on the type of art you want to focus on, decide whether you want to do more tutorial or educational type content, or entertainment type art content. Plenty of people focus on other things like selling prints of their art too. Maybe you also run an Etsy shop or similar. The key thing is that you settle on an area you really love, because you're probably going to be spending a lot of time working at this, and the love of it is what will really motivate you. Once you've got that worked out, figure out how you can bring value to your audience. It's important also, though, to keep an open mind. You will change and evolve over time, so give yourself freedom to experiment and try new things. Don't be afraid to see where things take you. You'll learn so much about yourself and your style as you start putting content out. The key thing is to get started. My next point is about setting up your channel. In summary, take the time to set up the various sections on the YouTube platform. Use a nice profile photo, fill in the About section properly, include your social media links, and make sure your channel artwork looks good. It sounds obvious, but it's not very useful for an art channel to have crappy looking artwork. Things like banners and logos. Also, work out a good name for your channel. You could use your own name or come up with something cool. I recommend using the word art or something like drawing or painting somewhere in the channel name, as it helps to instantly mark you out as an arts channel, and I feel it helps with search engine optimization as well. This is all really easy and shouldn't take too long. Then you're good to go. Time to start shooting your first videos. But I'm afraid of the camera. Don't let this stop you. A lot of people are afraid of being on camera, so you're not alone. The good thing about art videos is that the focus is generally more on the artwork itself. If you're comfortable in front of camera, that's great, but you can absolutely avoid it if you prefer. Work out what you'd like, and maybe you can transition into it gradually. If necessary, start with just voiceovers, and stay off camera for the most part. Maybe you can gradually include a brief clip of yourself at the beginning or end, and then gradually increase your video presence. Plenty of big art YouTubers use just voiceovers, or even just subtitles with music in the background. This is something I usually do myself. The point of this is that you don't need to let fear of the camera put you off from getting started. You can completely do whatever is comfortable and let the artwork do the talking. If you're not sure what your style of presentation should be like, don't worry. Just make a start, and you'll find what works for you naturally as you go along. Gear. Don't worry about gear. It really doesn't matter that much, especially early on. I just got started with an HB pencil and printer paper. As you may have seen from a couple of my videos, you can do a lot with just an HB pencil. As you get more experienced and maybe have a chance to save a bit of money, perhaps that's the time to buy some higher quality equipment, some quality pencils, paper, etc. As for camera equipment, again, don't worry about that. You can just use a camera phone to get started and it'll still be perfectly good. You can use natural daylight too. You don't need expensive studio lighting. As time goes on, when the time is right for you, you can invest in a decent video camera and perhaps a microphone and lighting. But it's not necessary when you're starting out. If you have a table or desk, a camera phone and some basic art equipment, you can definitely get started. For voiceovers, again, you can use your camera phone to record. To absorb echo in a room, it helps to record somewhere where you can surround yourself with some soft material, under a blanket or even in a big closet with clothes, or at least in a room with carpet that doesn't have a lot of reverberation. It's desirable to have quite a dry sound without echo, as the echo can make it hard to hear the recording properly, and it tends to sound a bit rough and amateurish. I advise planning out a simple, realistic, achievable content schedule a few weeks in advance. This avoids panic and avoids you lurching from one video to another with no clear direction. Try to plan at least a month ahead. Decide what really excites you. What content would you really love to put out? Don't spend too much time and energy planning months and years of content. It's better just to have a basic plan for the short and medium term and then put your energy into actually getting started with your first videos. You need to allow room for new ideas as you go along. One more thing. Have a think about where you want to be in 6 months or even in 12 months. You don't have to plan the fine details of every stage up to there, but it's good to decide roughly where you'd like to be. It'll help you keep focused. Music is really useful in art videos. It helps you set a mood for the video, and the pairing of great music with an art video makes for a really effective combination. It's really important you use properly licensed music tracks. Otherwise, your videos will get flagged by YouTube. If you're using music with your voiceover. Make sure the voiceover is louder than the music. If in doubt, lower the music volume way down, as it's better to have the voiceover much louder than the music, or even have no music at all. Otherwise the music will be distracting. There's nothing worse than a tutorial video where the voiceover is swamped by music that's too loud. It makes it sound generally crappy. There are loads of places you can get music tracks. Just make sure you include a credit in the description if it is required. I use Epidemic Sound for all my music tracks, and this is what a lot of other YouTubers use. There are amazing music tracks of all types and genres on there. It's super easy. You sign up for an account, choose your music tracks, download, then simply upload back to your video. I've left a link in the description below in case you want to check that out. Next up, I want to talk about editing video. Okay, I know this can put some people off the whole video process, but video editing doesn't have to be complex. You can learn the basics by watching a few YouTube videos. Editing is important if you're putting out video content. It's a big part of the process, even though you may feel like you just want to focus on the art. So if you're new to video editing, just start with some simple software or whatever you're comfortable with. There's iMovie for Mac, for example, which is quite popular. There are also various online web-based bits of software which you can use. I use Adobe Premiere Pro. I've always used it. It's a higher-end option, which you have to pay a monthly subscription for, but it's really great to use, as you can do pretty much anything on there. Again, I've left a link below in case you want to check it out. I decided to just go straight in with Premiere, as I figured that if I was going to invest time in learning how to use editing software, I may as well just do it once. But you don't have to use Premiere Pro to do a good job. With editing, the basic things to think about are cutting out any non-useful footage to make the video as short and concise as possible. Remember, viewers on YouTube generally want super concise content. Then there's elements like lighting, to make things clear and natural looking. This might involve adjusting brightness and contrast and things like that. Adding voiceovers and music is also an important element to learn early on. You'll probably find you're learning to edit sound as well as video, and then putting it all together on the final video track. There are then more advanced things like adjusting color, fading from one clip to another, adding various effects, changing the speed of footage, zooming, transitions, etc. These are all things you will learn gradually as you go along. In fact, you'll find that video editing is something you're always learning. No matter how far you get, there's always new stuff to learn. As with most things, the best thing is just to get started. You'll learn most by just doing it. After you edit your first video, you'll have learned so much. I guarantee it. Okay, my next tip is to do with thumbnail photography. Again, this is something you can do super easily using just a camera phone. The best light is often just to use natural daylight. Try to position your artwork in a bright window or even outside so there are no shadows. Try to get the angle so that you can avoid reflections off the page. This is really important, especially if you're using graphite pencils. Try and get a clean, white, natural light. If you have a more advanced camera, great, but it's not necessary at all. I know a lot of top artists online that just use a camera phone for photography. You may need to do some simple editing to make sure the crop is the right size. This should be a 16:9 ratio. You can do this on your phone or search for free online software to help you. You might also need to play around with brightness, color grading, and contrast slightly to make sure the photo shows your art in the best possible way. Generally, the aim is to make it look natural, like you would see with your own eyes. More advanced options are things like Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom. Try to optimize your workflow so you capture photos for your social media when you capture your thumbnail photos. So, you've made a start, you've got your first videos. How do you get subscribers? Focus initially on filming the best quality content that you're able to start building an audience. If you're making good quality content relatively consistently, people will come to watch it. Understanding the YouTube algorithm is a complex thing. There's quite a bit to think about in terms of writing titles, descriptions, using tags, etc. It's probably worth doing a separate video just on that, so let me know in the comments below if that would be useful. Generally speaking though, on a simple level, it's worth deciding how often you'll post and when. There are different bits of advice on this. A lot of people advise posting a video at least once a week, or even a few times a week. For some industries, this is more important, but I think for art, it's best to put out higher quality content less often. There is a huge amount of art content out there on YouTube, and I feel it's better to focus on just putting out the best material you can, even if it means posting a bit less regularly. Be realistic with the work involved. There's planning, doing the actual art, editing, uploading. This all takes time. You also need to allow time for marketing and publicity, as well as learning about lighting and filming, even if you're just using a basic setup. It's good to be conscious that all this takes time, and it can be hard work putting out quality content on a consistent basis. But it can also be a great lifestyle. It's great to be as consistent as possible, but remember that each video you put out then forms part of your online portfolio. It's going to remain there for a long time unless you take it down. And I think you want to look back in months or years to come and at least feel happy with the stuff you've published, rather than feeling you rushed things and put stuff out you weren't really totally happy with. We might be studying at school or college, or working full-time alongside starting an art career, for example. So just think about a schedule that's realistic, and find one that allows you to put out quality content on a relatively consistent basis, rather than ending up in a panic and putting out content you're not really happy with just to keep up with an unrealistic schedule. So, in summary, I suggest posting once a week if you have time, but once every 2 weeks if it gives you a better chance of producing content you're really happy with. Once you start doing this, you will build an audience. Getting your videos to appear in search or recommended videos is one of the best things to do, but there's a lot of thought that goes into that. In summary, when you're starting out, just make sure you use a good title, do a bit of research, try and get some keywords in the title, use tags, and take the time to write a description. I recommend making sure that things tie together. Get some keywords in the description, make sure the description matches what you say in the title. And then again, make sure that the tags you use match the keywords you've used in the description and title. If you're doing a voiceover, try and use the actual keywords that you use in the description and title. Try and get those into the video as well. Definitely let me know though in the comments if it would be useful to have a video on the mechanics of writing the description, title, and using tags for art videos. All that said, don't let the pursuit of perfection prevent you getting started. You'll probably never feel 100% happy with a video. That's normal. Just do your best. Your style will develop and evolve over time. Okay, this next point is another big one. And again, I feel I could do a whole video on just this. But use social media to boost your traffic, as well as your own YouTube audience. Decide which social media platforms you want to use to help support your channel. I recommend using at least one other social media platform to help you grow an audience. Ideally use 2 other platforms. I use Instagram and Pinterest as I feel these suit me best and they work really well for online art. I advise not using more platforms than you have time for though. It's best to just choose 1 or 2 others that you can devote enough time to building up. Over time, you'll find that followers on your other platforms jump over to join you on YouTube. Pinterest is very good indeed for this. There's a huge potential audience there, and you can include links to your YouTube videos with each pin, so it can provide a brilliant extra source of traffic to your YouTube channel. I only started using my Pinterest account a few months ago, and I don't do a huge amount on it. In fact, I just counted, I only have about 23 pins. But I already seem to have 248,000 monthly views overall. And I can see that this is partly because a few of the pins have really taken off. This tends to happen with most people on Pinterest. You'll find that a couple of pins do much better than others. Whether it's YouTube or Pinterest or whatever, you'll probably find that one or two pieces of content outperform all the others. You won't know which these will be until it happens, but when it does happen, it helps show you what content is resonating best with your audience, and that can help you to shape future content. Just a side note, monthly views on Pinterest are a useful metric, and they're certainly encouraging, but it's good to bear in mind that actual click-throughs to your YouTube videos from the pins are really the most important factor, as this is what actually counts. Monthly Pinterest views are great, but they aren't especially useful in isolation if people aren't also clicking through to watch your videos. Instagram is something I also use. It's more about building a community and interacting with others. Some people feel it's perhaps more challenging these days to grow a large audience quickly on Instagram, especially in things like art. But it is still possible, and it's a nice way to interact a bit more regularly with others through comments and DMs. Also through things like stories. Again, you'll find over time that people jump on over to YouTube having found you on Instagram, so it's worth considering. Okay, build a website. This might seem like a big stage, but I feel it's important to have something of your own rather than being 100% reliant on other platforms that aren't yours, things like YouTube, Pinterest, and Instagram. Even if you just start with something super basic and free, that's absolutely fine. You can upgrade it and make it look more professional as time goes on. It's just really good to have something of your own. This also means you can gradually build your own mailing list of subscribers, which gives you an added publicity boost when you publish new content, as you can let subscribers know immediately. I recommend using Wix. This is what I used for my site. You can check it out if you want. There's another link below if you're interested in building your own site. I actually advise channeling at least some of your Pinterest traffic directly to your website and embedding YouTube videos on your website. This way people stop by your site regularly and you also get the benefit of more views on your YouTube videos. It also gives you a chance to build your mailing list as people stop by the website. Your website could also be somewhere you sell educational courses or physical products later on, if that's something you're interested in doing. Okay, the last point. This is the most important tip. Just get started. Building a successful YouTube channel takes time, and it's the same with other social media platforms. So the most important thing you can do is just get started with whatever you have. Just go for it and trust that your ability and style will develop as you grow. Even if you're only putting out content every few weeks, over time that will build up, and eventually you'll look back and you'll have a great amount of content. Not only that, but you will have grown hugely in that time. Also, even if you're not entirely clear on where it's all headed, things will become clearer as you start the journey. You'll find out a lot about yourself and about what you enjoy doing, as well as what your audience enjoys. Also, make the most of the opportunity to experiment when you're starting out. That's the great thing about when you have a small audience early on. Things will evolve in a natural way as you progress. Don't feel discouraged if it's slow to start. This is normal. The first 10, 50, 100 subscribers are really big landmarks, and you should feel proud when you get to those points. You will also find that things gradually build exponentially. The further you get, the more things tend to grow. It gets easier as you grow, and growth starts to speed up, so don't even worry about metrics and how many subscribers you have. Just focus on producing content, and people will find you. If you're interested in watching the full-length narrated tutorial video for this portrait, I've left a link in the description below. So there we have it, my 10 top tips for starting a YouTube art channel. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, or if there's any aspects I've covered here which would be useful to learn more about. If you found the video helpful, feel free to leave a like and hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.